Hello and welcome to the Game and Party channel. I'm Mike Davis, and in this video we're going to take a look at Cities Skylines. This is a board game from Kosmos Games, and it plays from 1 to 4 players, ages 10 and up, in about 40 to 70 minutes. We'll talk about the time frame at the end of the video, but let me show you how the game plays. Okay, we've gone ahead and set this up here for a scenario in the book. It's called Scenario 4. In the back of the book there are 4 different scenarios you can go to. I am using the Scenario 4 here, which is the one that uses all of the rules. So I'm showing you that one so you'll see all the rules. If you want to play a more simplified scenario, you can go back and play one of the easier ones. Let's go ahead and jump into the Scenario 4. So what I did is I wanted to set the board up based on the scenario. It's boards A, B, C, and D. You shuffle up the cards 1, 2, and 3, stack them off to the side. Then you're going to take these roll cards here. You're going to shuffle these up and give 2 to each player. They're going to select 1 to keep and discard the other, and that will be your role in the game with your power. Then you're going to give each person one of these turn overview cards here. This shows you on your turn what you're going to be doing. And take the end of a milestone card and put that somewhere near the board also. This is your main board here. Your main board you're going to set up with all of the pieces right down the middle here. Your electricity all the way down to crime. Going to start your money here. To make it easier, you're going to start with 12. If you want to make it a little tougher, you can start with 10 money. Then you're going to take your scoring board here and set that to 0, 0. So smiley faces over here on 0 on that side, and smiley faces on 0 on that side. If you ever go negative in a game, you'll move it down to this negative section on that side there. This is the first player marker. You're going to take that and randomly decide who goes first. Give that to them. Have your little money sitting off to the side here in a pool. And you're going to have all your building tiles off to the side. I have them off camera here, but you're going to have all these kind of set up off to the side so you can get to them. Then you're going to take the level 1 cards here. You're going to shuffle up and deal these out to players in the game. If you're playing a 4-player game, each person gets 3 cards. If you're playing a 3-player game, everybody gets 4. A 2-player game, everybody gets 5. And if you're playing solo, you get 7 cards to start the game. The first thing you're going to need to do to start the game is turn over one of these boards. So you'll need to pay the cost on the back of the board to do that. A good idea to start the game is to pick one of the cheapest ones because you're low on money, especially at the beginning of the game. So we're going to pick board A here. You're going to rotate it so that the axis is through the middle of where the money's at there. And that ends up with the water in the same spot. And now we have board A. These roads right here separate the districts. So this is one district over here, this is one district over here, and this is one district over there. You cannot build in the water and you can't build on the roads. Once I turn board B over later on in the game, then you'll see that this district here got a little bigger. So some of your districts are going to grow throughout the game. After you've chosen your board and you've turned it over, make sure you pay your money. This is your money supply over here. You're going to take $2 out of that and get rid of it because that board costs $2 to turn over. And now we're down to $10 already. Then the first player is going to take their hand of cards, and you're going to decide one of these cards you're going to play in the game. So let's take a look at some of these cards here. First, this is an industrial zone card, so that means you're going to be playing a yellow building out. Notice there's no picture of what the building looks like on here at the bottom, so you can choose any one of the yellow building tiles, any shape and size that you want to go onto the board. Then you're going to decrease your population by 1, you're going to increase your pollution by 1, and you're going to increase your crime by 2 because building an industrial zone does that to your city. Also, if you build this industrial zone right next to a fire station, you're going to get $4. So you want someone to build a fire station first before you build this, so you can make this, build it right next to it and have it touching that fire station, which I'll show you in a moment. Next we have a residential zone. Again, no picture of a building here, so it can be any one of the green building tiles here, like these. And you're going to place that out on the board, and this is going to cause your population to increase, your crime to increase, and your traffic to increase. That's on that main board earlier I showed you. We'll go back over that in a moment. And then if you have this touching a forest somewhere next to it, then you're going to get +2 happiness, and that's going to start on your board here also on the main board. Another residential zone. This decreases your ability to handle trash, increases your population, and if it's touching a police station, you get 1 happiness. This is a service building. This is a firehouse. This is one of the ones, so I want to build this first before I go back and build that yellow building I showed you earlier. I want this firehouse out so I can build this and then have it touching it. That'd be great. That's probably a good plan. It's going to cost me $1 though. Service buildings are going to cost you money to build. So this is going to cost me $1. It's going to give me 1 happiness though. And it has a very specific building picture here. So I need to find this building tile. This is the one I'm going to need to put down exactly. So there are different ones in the game for your different scenarios, for your different service buildings. So I'll need to find the specific one that matches this symbol here and put that one out on the board. There are also special building tiles in the game, like the stadium here. You'll see this come up. If you see this come up, you got to find this little piece here that matches the card. There's a stadium, there's malls, there's also different buildings. These give you some special abilities, but they're huge. They take up a big space on the board. Okay, I went ahead and rotated the board 180 degrees and zoomed in a little bit to make it easier for you guys to see this. So let's say on my turn, I'm going to go ahead and play this firehouse right here. So that's going to cost me $1 and give me a happiness. So on my player board here, I'm going to take $1 off. So I'll take a 5 off and put 4 back on there. And that's going to bring me down $1. So I'm down to $9 now. And I'm going to increase my happiness though. That's what's on the card also. So my happiness is going to go up by 1, which is great. That's what I want. And I'll just discard this card. It's out of the game. And I take my firehouse. Again, make sure you grab the specific one. This is a very small one here. And I'm going to place that out here in one of my districts. Now I'm going to put it here in the middle because I want to build all around that. I want other buildings touching that as much as possible because I know this card's in the game that gives bonuses. So this goes on to the next person's player, their turn, and maybe they want to play this industrial zone. This is the one we showed you earlier. And now this is going to be touching that fire station, so we're going to get $4 for that. But it's going to cause our population to increase, our pollution to increase, and our crime to increase. I'm sorry, population decrease. So let's decrease our population by 1, increase our pollution by 1, and increase our crime by 2. And now I'll take one of these industrial zones, and it can be any shape, size that I want here. So let's say, I'm going to take this one here. This one seems to fit in nicely right around the corner here, or maybe like this. And I'm going to put it right there. There we go. So I still have room to put other buildings around that fire station now. And that's going to give me $4. So I'm going to take $4 out of the supply. 2, 3, 4. Put that in my supply. Now we have some extra money. And that's pretty much an example of a turn. There are other cards in the game I want to show you. There are 2 other types of cards in the game besides buildings. That is these policy cards and these news cards. Let's look at the policies first. If you get one of these, this takes up a spot in your hand. And you need to complete this before the end of the milestone. I'll go over what a milestone is in a moment. This costs you $2, but if you pay that $2, you decrease your crime by 2, which is great. So you want to try to get this done if you have the money to do it. The bad cards in the game are the news. These are always bad. So whenever a blue building is built in a district where there are no green buildings, negative $2. So we want to make sure this doesn't happen when you're building. These news articles stay in play and affect the game until either 1, another news article comes up, or 2, you get rid of it at the end of the milestone. So what is a milestone? A milestone is when you decide, okay, we're done building for right now. Let's go ahead and turn over another board. Let's pay the money, flip over another board, and we're going to bank our happiness that we have. So for each one of the lightning, the water, and the trash or electricity, you're going to increase your happiness or decrease it by 1 based on where they're at. I'll show you that on the board in a moment. You're going to transfer that happiness to your score marker. That's the big score marker here at the end. And then you're going to pay money based on how far you are away from the 0 on the population. And now you can exchange cards. So normally you can exchange cards for $2, but now you can exchange cards for $1. Any cards you exchange go into what's called an exchange pile, and then you can draw either from that exchange pile or from either one of the top of the decks, 1, 2, or 3. At the end of your turn, you will always draw a card from the 1, 2, or 3 decks. You always have the same number of cards for the full game. All right, so let me show you how this works on the main board here. So here's an example on the main board. Let's say at the end of the round, we had our water at -2 here. It doesn't matter where our electricity or our trash is at. Our water's at -2, so we're going to lose 2 happiness. So we're at 4, we're actually going to go down to 2 happiness now. Then we'll take that 2, we're going to transfer it over to that main board where we keep our score. We have our population at 0, we would lose no money at all. If our population was at -1, we would lose $1. If it's at -2, we lose $2. If it's at +2, we still lose $2. So the farther away it is from 0, the worse it is. Then we have our pollution. Let's say it's here, traffic's here, crime's here. That does nothing for this part of the game. That is only taken into account at the end of the game. You add all this up and subtract that from your happiness at the end of the game. Also, if you were ever to play a card that would cause your crime or pollution or traffic to increase and it's already maxed out or you can't go past it, you can't add those items in there, you cannot play this card. This is one way to lose the game. If all the cards in front of you increase crime and your crime is maxed out, and you don't have the $2 you need to pay to exchange a card, you can't take a turn and you have lost the game. Also, if your happiness ever drops to -5 on the main board here, you lose the game. If your happiness ever drops to 10 on the big scoreboard here, you lose the game also. Once you finish your milestone, you hand the first player marker over to the person who ended the milestone. You can end it on anyone's turn. That person becomes the first player on the next round. So how do you win the game? Well, if you look at the back of the book here, it's got some scenarios for you. If you have less than 0 happiness at the end of the game, you have a dying city. All the way up to, if it's a 61 or more, you have a heavenly city. So that's it, guys. That's how you play Cities Skylines. Great game from Kosmos Games. So let me give you my final thoughts on this game. So it is a sim building game. If you like Sims board games and Sims video games, this is a game you're probably going to like. In fact, it was a video game before it was a board game. I've never played the video game, so I played this straight off just as a board game, and I really enjoyed it. It took us about it says 40 to 70 minutes in the box. Our first playthrough probably took us 2.5 hours. That being said, though, we were streaming it live, so we had to deal with the camera and microphones and things like that. Also, I had to teach the game, so I'd say you could probably subtract an hour from that, probably an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. The second time we played this, I taught it again, but we got the game done in 2 hours. So without the teach, probably about an hour and a half. So 90 minutes is what I would say for this game. And both of those games were 4-player games, so it takes a little longer with 4 players. If you're playing with 2 players or you're playing it solo, you could probably get it done a lot faster. That being said, though, it did not feel like 2 hours. We looked at the clock, we were like, oh my gosh, it's been almost 2 hours, that's crazy. We did not think it'd been that long. It felt like it just went by like that. And that's the sign of a good game to me. If you're enjoying the game so much you just get lost in the time, that's awesome. And so I really enjoyed the playthrough of the game all the way up to the last second of the game, because the end of the game is, okay, we have enough points now. We've passed the 61 mark or 70. I think we had like 79 points at one point. We're like, okay, we should stop here, because even though we got more spots we could build in, we don't want to do that, because we could get into a scenario where somebody has like cards that all increase crime and our crime's maxed out, or we could run out of money, or some scenario could come up where we can't play a card, and that would be really bad for us. We don't want to do that. So we need to go ahead and end the milestone when we have the money to do it. So you do that, you end the milestone. You also have to make sure when you're at the end of a milestone during the game, you have the money to turn over the next board. That costs money also, so you got to pay money to turn over that next board. And you continue building. I like the planning ahead aspect. That is awesome. I can look at my card and say, okay, my card is going to increase crime, but my opponent, or this is a cooperative game, you're working together, so my friend is going to play their card decreases crime. That is great. I love that. We can play off each other, and sometimes you can look 3 or 4 moves ahead in the game to make that happen. That is a lot of fun, and if you do it right, it works out great. When those news cards come up, you're like, oh, sometimes it can spoil your plans. You're like, it's going to cost us $2 to do that now. We don't have the money, so we got to change our plan now, which is great. I like that. It makes it feel like you really can't plan everything out ahead of time, but you plan as much as you can, which is great. I love that. The components are great. The quality of these, they're very thick cardboard. The money is actually pretty thick too for what it was. They didn't do paper money, thank goodness. The cards, these are fine. I mean, the artwork on these is okay. I didn't have any problem with that. Some of the buildings, though, are very hard to tell apart because they're very small. It's very hard to tell some of these apart. So, something else I forgot to mention too. On some of these, you have a little district symbol on there. That district symbol means that everything in that district is touching this building, so you don't have to actually have it touching directly next to it there. So there you go. So that's City Skylines. That is a great little Sims game there. I enjoyed it. If you like Sims games, this is something you'll probably enjoy. If you're not looking for some big bang at the end, like, oh, we beat the bad guy at the end, this is great. So there you go. City Skylines from Kosmos Games. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, check out our podcast, and you can find us on all of our social media sites on gameandparty.com. See you on the next video.